Welcome, TEDU 667 students. A little bit different this week. I wanted to show you all what I do in my online course for Virtual Virginia, and in particular, point out instructional resources and things of that nature so that you guys can actually see a functioning LMS and some good and some bad when it comes to designing a course that is conducive for your students. What you're looking at here on this screen is the main login page for when a student or an instructor logs into Virtual Virginia. This is the main page that is to be supported by the administration, and hopefully, and maybe you'll mention this in your blog postings or in our discussions, you'll see that there are some things that probably need to be here to guide the students, hint, hint. But this week we're mainly discussing resources as we go through and put in assignments and frameworks and layouts for the courses. Now, I do want to note that all Virtual Virginia courses, including my Spanish courses that we're going to look at in a moment, do have an instructional resource and a virtual library on the side. What resources you use depend on really two factors. One, what your school district or whoever is hosting your course will allow you access to, whether this is paid access or free access with permissions, firewalls, etc., or what you actually need for your courses. Virtual Virginia, while they do not use Blackboard as their platform, does pay for access to the Blackboard voice tools and Blackboard Collaborate. So those instructional resources are always on the main page of every course to allow students to access them. Likewise, Virtual Virginia also has an agreement with NBC Learn and eMedia VA, also put in as an instructional resource. Now, instructors can link specific videos and activities in their courses directly, and you are encouraged to do those kinds of things yourself. However, if you would like students to have access to resources such as these for individual projects or assignments or just personal exploration, having a resources area on your page is very important. Now, if I log into the introductory Spanish course, and I have minimized my office hours widget so we don't need to see that, you will see that the instructional resources again appear for all of those students. Likewise, if I click on content, which is where all of the content material is stored in the Desire to Learn LMS, you will see that I have the resources embedded here within the content itself. If you take a look at the beginning Spanish course, by also going to content, the resources here are embedded. However, since beginning Spanish is a harder Spanish course, there's a recursos or resource section built into the content itself. So again, it's linked, but there is a section just for students to access the resources. And if we are to click here, you will see it has a Spanish-English dictionary and sample conjugations, and it uses 3 regular verbs here. These regular verbs are used throughout the course to compare and contrast different verb tenses that they learn. Now, this is what we use. Personally, as someone who's taught online, there are pros and cons to where you place your resources. Placing resources and content does hold students accountable for finding and using the individual resource without skipping around. However, by not placing the resources on a main page or somewhere that's accessible without going page by page through the content, you do put a learner in the situation of having to find something or track something down, or if they're trying to study or complete a project. The last thing I do want to say about resources is something that I encountered myself last year. Many of you now are into your courses and you're finding that things like YouTube and sometimes social media feeds and blogs have a share option. And I'll show you what I'm talking about by going to YouTube. We're going to use Senor Jordan. If any of you all know a Spanish teacher that's looking for a good resource, he's amazing. And I use a lot of these videos for my Spanish students. So let's click on Basic Conversation.
Welcome to Fort Green Sheet.
Welcome to Castle Brainstorm.
It's full of cool stuff like my trusty
An advertisement. Okay, so if I wanted to share this video with my students, I want to use this resource, and he's an excellent resource. I go down to the share option, and this is a common symbol on websites now to share. And it will give me, when it loads, all of the options that there are for sharing this resource. I can share it on all the various social media. So again, you all could share something in this fashion on your blogs. You can also say when you would like it to start. But when it comes to sharing or putting a resource like this into an LMS, you often have to embed the HTML code. If any of you would like instructions on how to do this, I'm more than happy to walk you through it to the best of my ability. However, depending on the firewall or the restrictions in your individual school districts, sometimes even if you embed it, when you come over here, and I like to embed Senor Jordan in my news, I'll show you where I've done that in the news, the schools will have that resource blocked. And here is where a sample of where I've embedded Senor Jordan video in the class. So that's something else to take into consideration. I very easily, and so can Monty, insert things into the course for you all to see, but if you go to access the course from your individual systems, you may not have access to all of those things. So selecting your resources carefully and possibly getting a list from the tech support at your school of sample web pages and things that are and are not allowed would be helpful. So I hope this quick little run through of actually how resources are used gives you a better idea of what's happening and what you think should actually be happening in your courses.